Do you have a bad temper? When something upsets you, how do you handle it? Damn! Do you throw things? Punch walls? Or do you yell and scream? Say things that hurt people's feelings, and once you calm down, you regret. However your anger manifests, the reality is that your inability to handle situations calmly may be doing more damage than you realize. We all know somebody with a bad temper, right? How often do you hang out with them? Probably not that much. It only takes a few times of being around them before you're like, yo, you're a liability. What am I doing? Walking on eggshells. That's what you end up doing, trying not to upset them. Well, gentlemen, I don't want you to be that person. And so today we're going over 9 temper tips to help you manage your mood. Tip number 1, learn to identify what situations or circumstances end up setting you off. What makes you mad? Because until you identify what situations really just take you to level 12, you're never going to be able to control it. Once you identify the situations or circumstances that make you super pissed or upset or lose control, then you can try to not be or get yourself in those situations. Avoidance. But avoidance is only so good, because if it's like other dudes looking at your girl, right, that makes you crazy jealous and just infuriated with rage, well, you can't just not go out of the house. So you kind of need to move on to step number 2. Identify the anger or feeling as soon as it starts, because it doesn't normally, right? When we get upset, it builds, right? It's not something that just all of a sudden, bang, you're in this just crazy emotional It starts at like a 1 and gradually, now it can gradually increase fast and escalate quickly, but if you can identify that feeling, the feeling that you get when you start to get intensely angry or upset, then you can deal with it. If you can identify the feeling when it first starts, you can do things to help you not escalate. And really, it's this escalation that gets things just way out of hand and out of control. Remember, it's ultimately about control. You controlling your emotions, all right? You can't necessarily control how you react to certain things and the fact that things get you upset, but you can control the escalation of that anger. And tip number 3 is a way to manage that escalation, and that is practice relaxation techniques. Whether or not that's deep breathing or saying something to yourself like, it's okay, calm down, just think, hold on, allowing yourself a little bit of time before you just react. Because tip number 4 is think before you speak. And this is something that, oh God, is it hard, right? Because you think something, but it just wants to come out. But the issue is that once it's out there in space, you can't take it back. And words a lot of times can hurt people much more deeply and intensely than physical violence. Like saying something horrible to somebody a lot of times is worse than getting punched in the face. Tip number 5 is get physical exercise, all right? Because exercise and physical exertion is amazing in terms of stress reduction. A lot of times, if you find the stress building up and you don't have a release, well, this is a lot of times when you tend to explode emotionally. Tip number 6 is talk about issues as they arise. How many of you, with show of hands, actually you don't have to show your hands because I know that it's probably a lot of you, because it happens to me. When something upsets me, I might not address it right then, but what I found is that if I don't address it and I just sort of store it, put it in my pocket, right? And it just like it's in there, and it starts gnawing at me. And then I look, and it's still there. All right, maybe something else happens, and I stick it on top of it. Bang! You explode because you just can't take it anymore. And people are like, "What is? I'm sorry, I didn't put the toilet paper roll back on." If you would simply have the conversation and address the issues as they arise, it never gets to that escalation point. Tip number 7 is, when at all possible, use humor to diffuse intense situations. But you need to be careful, because sarcasm a lot of times, if you're in a heated, like about to get upset and people are upset, all right, and you start to throw in sarcasm, then people can take it personally. But humor is a great way to diffuse situations and bring it down an intensity notch. Tip number 8 is take a timeout. You know when you were little and you did something wrong or you were acting up and your mom or your teacher would be like, "You're in timeout, Alpha," and I'd be like, "Man," and you'd have to go and sit there, and then you're like, "Get my out." And well, here's the thing. As adults, as grown-ass men, we can take timeouts from things that are bothering us. If there's a situation or a person that's upsetting us and that is causing us to get frustrated and angry, we need a lot of times to take a timeout. Remove ourselves from that person, that situation, to give ourselves some breathing room. A lot of times what we're going to do is decompress. It's this decompression and the ability then to see things more clearly and to rationalize with these people. And tip number 9 is know when you need help and ask for it. There are groups, anger management classes, therapists. If you're having a tough time handling and managing your anger or your emotions, it might be time to go speak to somebody, a professional, because a lot of times we don't have the tools in order to help ourselves. And talking to the people or our wives or girlfriends or boyfriends, whatever, about issues sometimes just doesn't work out, and you can't get the constructive criticism, feedback, or tools that you're going to need in order to manage your anger and emotions. Therapy is a good thing. It's a tool. Don't think of it as a negative. People that take control, realize they have an issue, and go out and seek help and actively fix themselves because they realize there's an issue, these are the people that are super solid and super strong. All right? There's nothing wrong. You should be not ashamed, have no fear of going and asking for help if you need it. Getting upset happens, but losing control doesn't have to. All right? Somebody makes you mad, I get it, right? It happens to all of us, but it's no excuse to hurt people physically or emotionally. And you don't deserve to be hurt either. So if you're currently in relationships or around people that have bad tempers who can't control it, well, it might be time to reevaluate that relationship as well.